the Trump team has been spending more time with Trump and trying to give him some space to let the news sink in. I think certainly when he first learned about the charges against him and the fact that a grand jury had voted to indict him, he was more subdued and muted than I think people might have anticipated. I think it's one thing to have a lot of bravado about talking about potential charges, and then when you actually get hit with an indictment, it's something entirely different. And then over this weekend, they've been trying to coax him back into the political side of things and try to, I think, take his mind off the legal elements. They're still trying to figure out their legal team because they haven't seen the charges. They have no readout from the DA's office about what the indictment could look like. And so I think they're still scrambling to put together a competent legal team.
So, Lisa, this is an interesting point, and Hugo says the point about that Trump is a little more subdued. I will note he was lashing out on social media still, not as much as he usually has. But this point about Trump's legal team, no one has seen the charges. We only have reports about 30 counts. We don't know for sure. So you've got Trump's attorney, Joe Tacopina, saying that there is, quote, zero chance that Donald Trump will take a plea deal. I want to play this for you.
He initially was shocked. After he got over that, he put a notch on his belt, and he decided we have to fight. President Trump will not take a plea deal in this case. It's not going to happen. There's no crime. I don't know if it's going to make the trial because we have substantial legal challenges that we have to front before we get to that point.
Lisa, he does not know the charges. What do you make of this strategy?
You know, I think the whole reason that President Trump is running for election again is in part so that he can outrun these investigations and prosecutions. So on one hand, it doesn't surprise me at all to see Joe Tacopina already being so inflexible about the president not taking a plea deal.
But Lisa, can I interrupt you to follow up on that point that you made? Because currently there is nothing legally, if you will, that bars Donald Trump from being charged if he's running for office, or even from running for office if he's charged. So why would running for office be helpful to him?
Well, because if he can delay actual trial proceedings on this or on any of the other investigations that might mature to prosecution and delay them until after the November 24 election and when he might take office again, then theoretically that immunity as president kicks in again. That's what he's counting on. Obviously, you can't pardon anyone, let alone a president, for state level crimes. But by being president, by virtue of being president, he's hopeful that he can make the argument that he is immune from prosecution once again. He is trying to shield himself and the mantle of the presidency as a way of immunizing himself only if he can get to January of 2025, Simone.
Donald Trump has lashed out at the judge that is assigned to his case. So, Lisa, how likely do you think that Donald Trump is going to end up with a gag order in this case?
I think it's extremely likely that Donald Trump will end up with a gag order in this case. And it's not just because he's lashed out at Justice Juan Merchan. It's also because he's lashed out at a bunch of other people who might not have as easy access to security as, for example, Judge Merchan or Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. He's lashing out at Matthew Colangelo, who's a former senior Department of Justice prosecutor who had worked with Alvin Bragg earlier in both of their careers at the New York Attorney General's office. What kind of security, for example, Mr. Colangelo has, I don't know. He's been lashing out at Mark Pomerantz. Mark Pomerantz is a private citizen now, and regardless of what we think about the wisdom of his publishing internal conversations in his book, Mark Pomerantz isn't a person that's entitled to any protection as a private citizen. So the panoply of people against whom he's lashing out is growing, Simone, by the day, and I think that is increasingly baiting the judge to impose some form of gag order on former President Trump.